guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. So I want to do a quick video just talking about The Evil Within 2, which I just beat yesterday. I guess that depends on when this video goes up, of course. So The Evil Within 2 is obviously the follow-up to The Evil Within. The Evil Within came out on the 360, the PC, the PlayStation 3, the Xbox One, and the PS4. Sort of around the beginning of the Xbox One and PS4 life. So it was on the older systems as well, so that sort of held it back in regards to graphical fidelity. But I always liked it a lot. I thought it looked good. I thought it played pretty well from when I played it, but I also probably played it after it had a couple patches. So the gist of the story is, at least in the first one, you are in this like Matrix type world where they plug people into these machines and they all have a hive mind, and then while you're there, how do I put this? I guess like if you have any fears, they sort of like manifest themselves. The problem was someone was like controlling the world and like doing all these evil things and bringing out the worst in everyone. So all these people that were in this Matrix type world, you know, we're seeing demons and murderers and zombies and things. So you don't figure that out till part way through, I believe, the first one, from what I recall. It's not something that's in your face at the beginning. At the beginning, you just wake up in this mental institution or whatever, and, you know, you don't really know what's going on, but that's what happens. So I like the story in the first one better because it's more horror, and then it kind of has a little bit of science fiction with this, you know, STEM program that you're in where everyone's attached to this other world and they can kind of go into their subconscious or whatever. The second one relies heavily on the STEM world. I thought that the bad guys weren't as interesting looking for the most part. There was one stage where you go back into a stage from the first game, like a small section of it, and they're like, oh, we know what your fears are, we're going to put you back where your fears are, and I don't want to say who, and you go back and you fight the Keeper, which is the guy with the big safe on his head that I really like, and this like creature that looks like a spider that you have to burn. So there is that throwback element from the first game, which I appreciated. The gameplay's pretty similar. I would say it's more refined. It's definitely better looking, The Evil Within 2, than the first game. I found, as I said, the elements and the horror to be better from the first game. It felt a little more... The first one felt more trial and error, like you'd go through an area and like get killed instantly, and you'd have to figure out your way how to not get killed. Maybe, you know, like a trap or a, you know, something happening, a wall closing in on you. Where in the second game, that really didn't happen to me. It was more that it was harder to take down the bad guys, and they were numerous. I played the first game on, I think, normal, and I played this one on survival, I believe, which I think is the normal mode. And it was actually pretty damn hard in areas. There were certain points where I was like pulling my hair out, fighting bosses that were really annoying. There was two bosses in particular that took me like, I don't know, 7 or 8 tries, and they were really annoying. And they, some of them, one of them specifically, has a like different levels or whatever, like, you know, like come back in a different form. So like by the time you get done with one part, you have to do the other part, and then the other part, and then you beat it. And I'd have to go back and like start at like the second part or the first part because I would die. The other thing I noticed is bullets seem way more scarce in Evil Within 2 than in the first game. Not that the game is ever really like a run and gun. It's sort of like a stealth game with shooting mechanics. But this one felt way more like you had to use stealth. Where in the other one I felt like I can get by actually like running around shooting things. As I said, the gameplay's tighter. The game looks better. I didn't appreciate the story as much as the first game. I didn't like the bad guy, the enemy design. I'm trying to think what I could tell you about the story without giving away too much. So at the beginning of the game, you play the same detective that you played in the first game, Sebastian, and your house is on fire and your daughter dies. That's like the intro. And you're kind of like an alcoholic, I guess, and you're drinking to cope with the loss of your daughter. You didn't save her, etc. And then you find out she's not dead. She's in this STEM world that you were in prior, and they're using her to manipulate her to like take over because she's so, I don't want to use the word like clairvoyant or anything, but she has these like inane abilities or some kind of, you know, subconscious abilities that they're trying to hone in on. That's like the best way for me to put it. And they're trying to use her to take over this STEM world and like do all these crazy things. They think it's the future. So you have this team that was sent in to rescue her. You kind of get some background on them, but you don't get a full fleshed out version because that changes. But you got this team that's almost like a SWAT team that was sent in to find her from Mobius. Mobius is the name of the like government agency that has this STEM center. And then while you're in there, the story starts changing. You start seeing who's really on your side, who isn't. I actually questioned whether some of the characters were even real, because since you're in this like Matrix type world, I don't know if some of them are figments of your imagination or people that, you know, maybe you created with your own mind to try and help you, or they remind you of other people or emotions perhaps. So I wasn't sure on certain characters because some of it seemed kind of far-fetched. So you go through and you pretty much sneak around killing zombies, doing missions. The first area of the game, like Chapter 3, the big area you're in, is open world, which is pretty cool. It's not open world like Grand Theft Auto, but it's a fairly big map where you can go around and like do little side quests. That area you do go back into later, and there was another little area that was open world, but for the most part, the game is pretty linear, besides the few side quests and like open world areas. Most people were saying that this was like really open world. It was like Silent Hill 2, and I could see some semblance of that, but it's not as open as Silent Hill. It's more like here's an area and it's fairly big, but it just didn't seem as big or open. So it's like here's some part of it is open, and then you get to the next level and it's linear. So I just want to make sure this doesn't fall. That's pretty much the thing of it. Like I thought, sort of went at it with like the whole game is more open, and it's really not. Just some sections are. So you're trying to save your daughter in this STEM world. Other people start getting involved, depending on where on the spectrum of things they fall, whether they're for the government agency, against the government agency, trying to take over themselves, or putting themselves into the STEM system as a plant to destroy the government. You know, everyone has their own agenda, and some of them are with you and some of them are not. So you do run across these like Mobius agents. Most of them are dead, and you can, you know, loot their bodies and find items. Lots of scavenging. If you're into like the survival part of survival horror, this is great because, like I said, bullets are scarce, weapons are pretty, you know, not scarce. There's probably like 7 of them or 8 of them. You get like a pistol, a machine gun, different kinds of shotguns, a crossbow, which, you know, has different bolts that explode or shock things or freeze things. But yeah, you find other agents in there, and some of them are dead and some of them are alive, and you can interact with them or go to safe houses. One of the things I thought was kind of funny was when you're in a safe house, you drink coffee and it restores your health, but it takes a while for the coffee to get made, so if you drink it and then they get hurt and go back, the coffee's not ready yet. They added a few cute little Easter eggs, like little statues you can put in your like home base. One's from like Fallout, one's from Evil Within 1, one's from Prey. So they did like a little bit of fan service. I'm trying to think what else. I would say overall I prefer 1. I felt like the ambiance was better, the feeling was better, the characters were better. There was a little more to the imagination, I think, in 1, where it wasn't like, there sort of was an ambiguity to it, where this one is flat out in your face, like here's what happens, here's what's happening, you know. And then by the end of the game, I would say like the last third of the game even, it felt very like, I don't know, like how do I put this, like government agency conspiracy, like very sci-fi. The whole game feels really more science fiction-y than horror in a sense. Some of it's definitely got a creepiness to it, or like something will jump out at you or something. So there is that element of horror, but I would say the Evil Within 1 was more horror, the Evil Within 2 is more science fiction with a horror splash, you know? Yeah, that's the best way for me to put it. I liked the game. I thought it was good. I would definitely recommend it. And if you didn't like 1 because of its shortfalls, you'll probably like 2, because I think they really fixed what they needed to. I think the guy who did Resident Evil 4, or a lot of the series, did 1, and in this one he was just some kind of like executive producer or overseer in a sense. And I think you can feel that. I think you can tell that this game is a little different than the first in regard to how the horror is really portrayed. And that stinks, but the game was good overall. I appreciated some of the fan service and the throwback levels or level that they showed, or a couple throwback enemies they showed that you can fight. Once you beat the game, there's a new game plus you can go into where you carry everything over, and you can go up on a harder level or an easier level, and you get different things at the end of the game that you can then use in the new game plus. I don't think the story really changes, but you can, try and find the items you were missing, or do things differently, I guess, in a way, if you want. Though, really, like I said, it's mainly linear, so I don't know how differently you can do them. But overall, I liked it. I would give it like an 8. I thought it was good. I just prefer 1 overall, even though it had technical issues when 1 first came out. So, yeah, let me know, guys, what you think. If you've played The Evil Within 2, how you feel it compares to 1, which I think is pretty hard to compare to, because I really liked 1. I know people beat it up a lot, but I really, really liked 1. So, thanks, guys, for watching. It's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. Be good.